Welcome to this week's session of A Life Worth Living, Sydney Clinical Psychology's Self-Harm Treatment Program. Over the last few weeks, we've looked at the biosocial model and mindfulness, and last week we started to look at distress tolerance skills. This week we're going to move into this in much more detail, and we're going to look at two very specific sets of distress tolerance skills. Let's move on and have a look at these now. Okay, so let's look at the first lot of skills. These are the accepts skills. Accepts is an acronym for a whole bunch of distress tolerance skills. So remember, the idea of the accept skills is to get you through difficult emotions without reverting back to old behaviours or patterns that have been destructive or harmful in the past. It's important to remember, though, that these are skills and you're just learning them. You're not expected to get them right, and in fact there is no right or wrong with these. You're not expected to know them all at the same time or know them all straight away. And indeed, it's unlikely that all of these skills are going to be helpful for everybody in every situation. As we go through the program, you'll build more and more options that are available for you, and you'll find things for you that work and things that don't work. This is the first step in that process. So in DBT, accept skills are referred to as distraction. But it's really more about having the skills to learn how to surf strong emotions. Let's look at the various aspects of the accept skills. The first of those is activities. So activities is doing things to get yourself through the moment. This can involve a hobby or a sport or exercise. It might involve movies, going out for coffee for a dinner, studying, or just going for a walk and so on. The second skill is contributing. Contributing involves doing something meaningful for others. This means that you're doing something meaningful for yourself as well, and this is good for self-esteem. Contributing might involve just calling or helping a friend, or it might involve volunteering, or even just making something for someone. Let's look at comparisons. So comparisons, there are many ways that you can use comparisons. One of the traditional ways that people use is to sometimes compare their suffering to others. This can be helpful for some people, but sometimes it can be unhelpful because it leaves you feeling like you don't deserve your suffering in some kind of way. So if it works like that, don't do it. But there are other versions of comparisons as well. So one example of that might be about comparing how you're coping now to some time in the past when you coped well. It might involve thinking about someone you admire and respect, and asking them what they might do or how they might cope. E involves distracting yourself with emotions. There are various ways that you can do this, like reading an emotional book or going to an emotional movie or whatever. The idea is to try to find something that allows you to feel emotions that are different from your current state. So if you're feeling sad, watch a comedy or a scary movie, or even listen to some silly music. P involves pushing away. This involves physically or mentally leaving a situation. Leaving physically can be very important if the situation is unsafe in some way, but it also can be very helpful to just give you some space to work out how to respond to what's happening. Mentally leaving involves pushing thoughts away or doing things like using imagery to build a mental wall or a barrier in your mind. T stands for thoughts. Thoughts involves using your mind in some other way. Some examples of this include trying a puzzle or crossword, counting backwards, going outside, or looking at things in a new way, or reading. S. Finally, there's sensations. This involves feeling intense alternative sensations. So you may try standing under a hot or cold shower, listening to loud music, or flicking a rubber band on your wrist. One favourite technique involves using ice. Sometimes people find it very helpful to hold onto an ice cube, or even to put their face into a bucket of ice. Okay, so now let's look at another set of skills. These are called the improved skills. Improved skills are a bit different from accept skills. While they're both about getting through a tough time, improved skills are more about improving the moment. So let's look at these skills in brief. I stands for imagery. And imagery involves using your imagination to soothe, distract, or comfort yourself in some way. This may involve going to a safe place when you feel threatened, imagining a place that's comforting, or in a place where you can see yourself acting in a helpful way. M stands for meaning. Finding meaning involves looking for what's important to you in something that's happening. You may decide to act in a certain way because it's consistent with your values, or you might choose to look for meaning in something that doesn't seem to make sense. Coping with distress this way may involve focusing on why it is helpful for your relationship to deal with things in better ways. Or it may involve seeing a difficult situation as an opportunity to learn something new about coping. Sometimes in DBT, this is called making lemonade out of lemons. The idea being that often, even in the most difficult or problematic or unhelpful situations, you can find meaning in them. P is prayer. The people who believe in God find prayer very comforting. However, even if you don't believe in God, people still find that sayings or mantras can be helpful. The AA Serenity Prayer, which is, God grant me the serenity to accept things I cannot change, the courage to change things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, is a great example of this. Another is simply using something like, it will pass. R stands for relaxation. The body responds to stress with tension. Relaxation involves changing the bodily response to stress, and this feeds back to your mind. Try to use mindfulness, slow breathing exercises, or doing relaxation exercises like taking a bath. O is one thing in the moment. You remember this from the DBT mindfulness skills. Through practicing the skills, you will see the power of being in the moment and doing one thing at a time. Using this skill may involve bringing your full focused attention to some activity, like watching TV, washing up, or just talking to someone. This skill will help your mind to slow down, making it easier for you to use other skills as well. V stands for vacation, or taking a vacation. This involves going away somewhere, but it might just also involve taking a break from something like work, study, or even therapy. The key here is to make the vacation brief and effective, so that it's ensured that it's coming from a place of self-care. So the vacation could involve just getting away for 10 minutes, an hour, or even a day. And finally, encouragement. Self-talk is very important, but surprisingly tough for people. It's amazing how badly we talk to ourselves, and how we would rarely talk to others in the same way that we talk to ourselves. Try to talk to yourself in an encouraging manner, and most importantly, focus on the tone you use when talking to yourself. Okay, this is the end now of our session this week, looking at accepts and improve skills. Give the skills a go, and remember that they are new, and when you do things for the first time, they can be challenging. Also remember that not all the skills are going to work for you in not all situations. But if you just find a few to help you go through the moment, they'll make a huge amount of difference. And we'll see you next week.